What's up, guys? Oh man, where's my camera? Every time. Boom. Yo. Yo. Okay, let's do this. So we got Loadout, Simpson, Tequila Shot, Tony, Freezy Demon. Okay, so we'll look at Loadout first. So this is actually really good. That the way you formatted this. Let me read your thing first. Basic Blackout stage, only based loosely on two references. Kind of matched up quite a few reference for it. Yep, looks good. Boom, boom, boom. I was trapped. I'm okay now. I don't have my glasses on either. It's weird. Yeah, so overall, in general, lighting-wise, it's already pretty interesting. I wouldn't mess with your lighting anymore until you get all of your materials in. So as far as looking at references, this is really good. These references are really good. Let's use like a green. And yeah, we'll ignore that little smiley face. So in general, this shot's really cool. And it looks like you're getting those details in your blockout. These windows being full lit like that is going to be pretty cool, I think, for these types of materials if you have your reflections. Make sure to follow the trim doing this stuff. It's pretty interesting. This is really nice. Make sure you keep track of the differences in your roughness from this wall material to was this mailbox thing, and this wall material. And just keep track of the variations in roughness, because that's what really makes scenes pop that have physically based. Just getting those hits, like these have a different roughness value than the wood, of course, right? Make sure that that's noticeable. So you see this is like quite highlighted versus the wood being much broader. Let's see here. Looking at this reference here, make sure that your metal, which looks like it's probably like a cast iron, that's my guess, like a black cast iron. Make sure that your albedo is not technically black, just because of PBR reasons. Like nothing's that dark, right? So initially it looks like you have some pretty good blockouts going. This top piece here comes up, and there's not really I'm just changing the song here. There's a spot here which you could totally utilize for your own like patterns. Make something cool here that's like metal detail or something. I don't know. Seems like a good opportunity. Right now, looks like you're not going that high up. Make sure that your scale-wise everything is good. It looks like right now, it looks like your door is a little tall. Get a character in here that'll help you. I like the addition of the bicycle. The character that's back here maybe is telling you how tall this needs to be already. The other thing is the stair count. This reference image is really interesting because these stairs, there's so many of them, and in your blockout you have very few stairs by comparison. The other thing too is the FOV in this reference image on the bottom left is much wider than what you have currently. If you get an FOV like that, you'll be able to see this wall more. You'll be able to see this wall more, and definitely be able to get this angle a lot easier. And then keep track of like these different details as you build out your stuff. Like this trim is different from this trim. This wall is rounded, which is kind of interesting. It's rounded here too, going down the hall, or down this stairwell primary wall, I guess. And it looks like you're already taking some detail liberties, which is cool. That's good, because like this one's kind of, it's not as interesting. Anyway, it's looking good so far. It's a nice space, and the composition leads itself to being really interesting. Make sure you nail your windows up here too, and don't forget your railing that's here. Okay, let's go to Freezy Demon, doing some blockouts for, I guess you were saying you wanted to steady the composition. Whoops. No, what was it? Materials. First, rough blockout. Wanted to get an idea of size and everything. During this project, I want to focus mainly on texturing and lighting. Also want to get more comfortable with modular assets. I'd like to get some tips on how to decide what should be modular and what unique assets. So, I mean, let's see here. I bet these corner pieces were added afterwards. And then this railing here, they're just using the parts to make it. It's possible that those are modular, but I don't know how they end when they go around the corner. In general, I think you could go pretty modular with this. You could do basically your stair piece. That same stair piece can be used for this one. So this is one piece. Oops. One piece, one. Then you have your wall set here that probably can be turned into like, this is the second modular piece. A good measurement, I think, is figure out the width of these. It's good to split these probably around here. That's the least minimal, or it's the most minimal modular visuals you're gonna get, I think, for where a seam would possibly occur. It's probably like that. So that's a modular piece. Maybe that's where your wall would split above as well. So 1, 2. Stair set, probably you could just do one piece. You could build that manually. It looks like the back wall, this is probably placed on top of the wall, the back plate thing. And then these are probably the same model, but then they're placed on this wall plane. So like the holes are just cut out so that they can place the framing. Let's see here. This could be a, whoops, I somehow picked up a color. This could be a prop. Looks like there's a bookcase here that can be a prop. And if you want to push your detail on the floor a bit, like you'll notice that in this image, the detail on the floor is pretty minimal. And that's because of the detail ratio, right? Everything above the floor is quite detailed. So by leaving the ground pretty soft, it gives you that area of rest that is needed. Overly detailed shot is always always too much. This is like, you'll notice too, this piece is pretty flat. So big areas of rest. These are kind of areas of rest as well. These look like you could model that piece and then place it there. As far as the ceilings go, I'll just delete this out. As far as the ceilings go, there's this piece here. Whoops. Man, come on. This piece here can probably be a piece that's attached to a modular set that goes this far. So like that whole thing is one piece. This drawing. That whole thing could be one piece. But on the other side, you don't have that little lip. And then when you duplicate it and snap it, the lack of lip here will bleed into, or like intersect into this lip. So they'll just naturally like 1, 1, 1. So then they'll just do. So like this shot here is actually just 3 modular pieces. So just get that one in the back working. This piece here, split here again. So let's say that that's one piece with the cap on there as well. This trim piece, you could just you could either build it into the set for this pillar and make it part of the pillar. There's a couple ways to do it, right? It's just thinking about where you want to have your cuts and how they snap together. So this, I guess this would be another piece. But it's pretty, I mean, when you look at it, I think how they're building this actually is, let me see where this ends here. So I think they're cutting it off there. So that's one piece. And then they're making this pillar piece here. And then because those are split, they can do this. So they've got that one, and then they've got another one down here. It's the same one, just stacked on top of itself. So they're probably just doing that. So 1, 2, 3. I think you're getting the idea though. Don't try and overcomplicate it, and just split it all up and try and simulate the shapes of as few pieces as possible. The only reason I think they're using 2 pieces here and here are because they've got 2 different floor heights that they need to achieve with the same pillar. This can be a prop, these can be props, all that stuff. This on the ground can be placed afterwards. I mean, it looks like for the most part you've got everything kind of solved. This might be coming out too far forward, and pull it back. I think right now it's right there. Might need to go back 1 unit or 2. I don't know if these units are meters or not, but I would say 1 meter. If that's a meter, go back a meter. But yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty cool so far. All right, we got Tony. Tony did an adjustment on the stones on the ground and then was asking about adding a gradient to the top of these. You could do it in the shader where it's a world space gradient that is just built on top of the material itself. So no matter what the object is and where it's at, it always has a gradient from top to bottom. But you can see right now, like, you have all this detail, but it's not like crazy in your face anymore. I think it doesn't even need a gradient now. Maybe just some more like ambient occlusion to help like split the shapes up a bit. But this looks much better, and it's also now in line with this material much more. Right now your mushrooms are sticking out a bit, and then there's some crazy like white materials going on here. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily add more detail to this area. I would just try and solve the visuals as what they are currently. But it is much more in line. And if this is going to be this emissive, make sure to plug in the emissive. I don't even know how to do it. I just know you can. The emissive can emit light during the light bake. We got tequila shot making some ivy leaves. These look super cool. This is good. You have a variety of them. I would totally get ones that fold on themselves, because as a leaf grows, it comes out, right, and then it comes out, and then it does an unfolding as it becomes a leaf. So it kind of unrolls itself. So get some maybe that are young, that are kind of balled up, folded together. When they die as well, they kind of fold up. And then I grabbed some reference images because so the ivy vine right now is almost the same thickness throughout. Like, you have the right idea when you're thinning it as you go down. But where these are placed is very like, they're close to each other. And size-wise, they're kind of random. Like, some of them are smaller up here, and then down here, they're pretty big. But if you look at ivy, they tend to be, like there's some smaller ones here. And that's because that one's like a bigger branch. But as it goes further down a branch, they space out further and further from each other, and they tend to shrink. And the younger an ivy is, the more, like, in general, the leaves are smaller. I'm trying to see if I can find like a good example of. So here's some of the dead ones, which you might be able to. Man, that would be interesting if you could get that working. Basically, build your ivy. So you say you've got this whole thing here. You built this all up. Set it up so that you can vertex paint where you want the more dead looking colors. And then I think under your ivy, depending on how thick it's going to be, these vines and stuff, have them out here in the key areas, the fringes of the whole shape. Kind of like dip back in and go up the sides here. But in the core of this, say these are all like sticking up, like this is volume, right? So this is it's coming out, and then say it goes down here. Think of it like a height map, right? So this is your highest point. Maybe this is a high point, and these are high points, and then they start to dip down, and then they get darker. So this is, think of this like a height map, what I'm painting. So they're getting darker and darker. And they go back up. So this is like trying to show you the volume. So when you have that volume happening, you'll tend to get nicer shadows on the undersides of the volume. And when you have volume like that, it gives you space behind the cards that are your ivy to place some like tileable baked vine lines like these. So if I turn this up again, so then you can place maybe like I don't know, a 10 by 10 poly sheet behind it that kind of varies in height and variation. So it varies in height and size and shape, and you can then like intertwine fake branches inside behind the leaves that you can see as you pan a camera or parallax around the shapes that is the volume of the leaves. So hopefully that helps you. But yeah, think about the shape being more like this. Everything is just basically a leaf in the end, a giant leaf made out of smaller leaves. Okay, and then Simpson. So this is your reference you're going off of. It's a pretty clean wood paneling, which is totally fine. You get there's some little nicks here. The grain is dark, but I wouldn't say it's so much darker than the roughness is kind of helping darken it even further. So where you find your grain lines, make sure that those are dark. And as far as looking at how this is set up currently, let's see here. I would say that these are probably too long. They probably need to go like this. Let's see if I can. So I'd do something like that maybe. So you'll, instead of like you've got 1, 2, 3. I would see if you can squeeze 4 or 5 into this by shortening these to half their length, and see how that does. Looking at your let's see here. Looking at this stuff, I mean, this looks pretty good. Tile generator, that's good. When let's see what else is going on here. Gradient blends. It's kind of blurry, but I think I'm making sense of it. Levels, transform, blend. Make sure to take that grain, the wood grain that's happening, and Oh, you seem to have a seam right here. I don't know what's causing that. Do you see that? This right here. It's right here. It goes all the way down. And that might just be my eyes. Anyways, double check to make sure there's no seams. Make sure that the gap inside of these is pretty uniform. It looks like this gap here might be larger than the rest, or than some of the others. And then as far as the grain is concerned, I would try and keep the grain out of the normal more, and put it more into the roughness and your albedo. That should give you a material that's much closer to the real thing, because like if you see, the roughness is pretty broad. It looks pretty rough. It's like pretty diffused reflection. And the grain is reflecting a little bit less even. And I'm not seeing too much of the detail of the grain in the height information that would lead to you wanting to put it in a normal, other than maybe like this crack here, and then your these deeper recesses, and then these little nicks on the ends. Every once in a while there'll be little dips and nicks. But yeah, I guess if you wanted to add this grain into your normal, I would add the grain into the normal using the detail that you generate, right? This pattern. Use it subtractively so that it kind of goes down, and then blur it a little bit and make it really, really light. That should probably get you the look you're going for. And that's that. Cool, guys. Thanks. I'll see you guys on tomorrow's stream. Laters.